the people of Jamaica. There are moments in history when silence becomes a betrayal. They, Jamaican politicians, built their power on silence and believed the people would never find out. They wrapped corruption in smiles, covered theft with speeches, and disguised betrayal as leadership. But tonight, the silence is broken. The mask has fallen, and the world must hear the truth about what has been happening in Jamaica under the watch of Andrew Holness. When a leader forgets that power belongs to the people, the nation begins to bleed. And when that bleeding is hidden long enough, it becomes a wound that poisons everything: trust, hope, and the future itself. For years, the Jamaican people have been fed carefully crafted words. They've been promised progress while living in neglect. They've been told to believe while their leaders quietly took everything that was meant to build their tomorrow. But truth has a way of arriving when it's least expected. It does not ask for permission. It does not fear titles or positions. It comes like a storm, and when it comes, no mask survives. Today, I speak not because it is easy, but because it is necessary. I speak because corruption, no matter where it hides, is an enemy to all free people. I speak because a leader who betrays his nation does not just steal money, he steals futures. And the future of Jamaica deserves to be protected. When the powerful build their kingdoms on silence, they convince themselves that no one will ever dare to speak. They think power is eternal. They believe wealth can buy truth. They believe the people are too afraid, too tired, too hopeless to rise. But history has a way of breaking illusions. Truth has a way of burning through carefully constructed lies. And when it finally arrives, it does not knock. It kicks down the door. Today, the door has been kicked down in Jamaica, and the name at the center of the storm is Andrew Holness. This is not a whisper. This is not political gossip. This is a revelation. A nation has been bled quietly. A people have been deceived skillfully. And the mask that once covered corruption has finally begun to fall apart. For too long, power in many nations has been treated as a private inheritance rather than a public trust. Leaders speak with the language of the people but govern with the greed of kings. They promise heaven during elections and deliver dust after victory. Jamaica, a country loved and admired for its resilience, culture, and strength, has endured years of political betrayal wrapped in the clothing of democracy. And at the center of this betrayal stands a leader who spoke the language of hope but practiced the politics of greed. Holness promised transparency. He promised development. He promised a nation where every Jamaican would rise with pride and opportunity. But behind those speeches were boardrooms where public resources were treated like personal property. We are talking about public contracts, billions in Jamaican dollars that were supposed to rebuild schools, modernize hospitals, provide clean water to communities, build better roads, and create opportunities for the young. Yet, those funds vanished into a web of private accounts, offshore shelters, and shell corporations designed to make theft invisible. You see, corruption does not happen with noise. It happens with silence. It hides in neatly typed government memos, in smiling photographs at project launches, in glowing reports filled with lies. And while the powerful were feeding on the nation, the ordinary Jamaican woke up every day to failing schools, overcrowded hospitals, unemployment, poverty, and rising insecurity. The government told the people, be patient. But it was never about patience. It was about power protecting theft. When investigative voices tried to speak, they were called enemies. When young activists raised their voices, they were intimidated. When communities protested, they were ignored. The leadership believed they could silence the nation by controlling the narrative. But they forgot one thing. Truth travels even through locked doors. I speak not from a place of rivalry or politics. I speak because injustice anywhere must be confronted. If we allow corruption to become normal, then we teach future generations that betrayal is leadership. Documents now, in public view, reveal how government ministries signed contracts with companies owned or influenced by close associates of Holness's circle. These contracts, worth millions, had no completed projects attached to them. Schools remained unfinished. Clinics never opened. Communities were promised water but continued to live with scarcity. And yet, on paper, everything was completed. The money was gone, but the projects were ghosts. Foreign donors and international partners sent money believing they were helping a nation rise. But much of that money never reached the people. Instead, it built private empires hidden in foreign bank accounts, property portfolios, and luxury investments. A nation cannot grow when its leaders use development as a mask to steal. This is not mismanagement. This is deliberate plunder. As these revelations began to unfold, something powerful started to shift. For the first time in a long time, the fear that had held people hostage began to break. Ordinary Jamaicans started talking, sharing, exposing what they had always suspected. Whistleblowers who once feared for their lives stepped forward. Journalists who were once ignored began publishing hard evidence. Former insiders, those who once sat in the halls of power, began to speak not out of bitterness, but out of conscience. These testimonies are not vague. They are specific. They point to bank transfers, fake procurement processes, inflated contracts, and off-the-books deals. They reveal how entire ministries became pipelines for illicit enrichment. And while these transactions were taking place, the government proudly presented itself to the world as a model of stability. But behind this mask of stability was a quiet robbery of the people's future. When the truth began to surface, Holness's administration moved to control the damage. Attempts were made to discredit the whistleblowers. Investigations were delayed or quietly buried. State media downplayed the issue. Loyalists launched coordinated campaigns to dismiss the reports as politically motivated attacks. But the evidence was too overwhelming to be buried under propaganda. Financial experts traced funds from development accounts to private holdings in tax havens. Investigative teams followed property trails that led from Kingston to Miami, London, and Dubai. People began to realize that their struggles, the lack of proper schools, the decaying infrastructure, the underfunded hospitals, the unemployment were not just accidents of governance. They were the cost of someone else's luxury. And this realization is dangerous for the corrupt. Because when people discover that their suffering